Behind the smile and iron determination he has shown for so long, Marc Márquez's condition is reportedly far worse than anyone imagined. After the horrifying crash that shocked the MotoGP world, Márquez is now forced to undergo 2 surgeries at the same time in an effort to save a career that is suddenly under serious threat. The situation became even more shocking after the Ducati Lenovo team finally revealed a major issue that had secretly been destroying both the world champion's performance and physical condition, leaving many fans fearing that this could become the darkest chapter of his career. Could this injury mark the beginning of Marc Márquez's downfall with Ducati this season? Let's discuss. The terrifying crash suffered by Marc Márquez during the MotoGP Le Mans sprint race has finally exposed the major problems that had been hidden behind his declining performances. The Ducati Lenovo team rider suffered a violent high-side crash while trying to hold his position in the leading group. His Ducati Desmosedici was launched into the air before slamming brutally into the gravel. The incident immediately created tension inside the Ducati paddock because the impact Marc received was far from an ordinary crash. After undergoing medical examinations, Marc Márquez was diagnosed with a fracture of the 5th metatarsal bone in his right foot. The injury ruled him out of the French MotoGP main race. However, the real problem turned out to be much bigger than just a foot injury. Shortly after returning to Madrid, Marc immediately underwent 2 surgeries at Roubaix International Hospital in Spain. The first procedure was performed to stabilize the fracture in his right foot. Meanwhile, the second surgery became the center of attention across the MotoGP world because it was related to an old injury in his right shoulder that had reportedly been troubling him ever since the massive crash in Mandalika last season. Ducati eventually revealed a shocking fact. The metal plate from Marc Márquez's previous surgery had shifted out of position. Several bone fragments were also reportedly pressing against the radial nerve in his right shoulder area. This condition is now believed to be the main reason why Marc Márquez's 2026 season performances have been far below expectations. Over the last several rounds, many people had started questioning why Marc appeared to lose the aggressive edge that once defined him under heavy braking and during fast direction changes through corners. Now, the answer is becoming clear. Marc had apparently been forcing himself to keep racing while enduring extreme pain every time he pushed the Ducati Desmosedici to the limit. In an official Ducati statement, the medical team, led by Dr. Samuel Antuna, confirmed that both surgical procedures were completed successfully. 2 screws and several problematic bone fragments were successfully removed from Marc Márquez's right shoulder. Ducati Corse has also reportedly given Marc full support to focus entirely on his recovery without rushing back to the track. That decision is considered extremely important because Marc Márquez's riding style has always relied heavily on extraordinary strength in his shoulders and arms. If he continued racing while injured, the risk to the future of his career could become far more dangerous. Marc Márquez's absence from the Catalunya MotoGP is also a massive blow for Ducati. The situation automatically opens the door for Ducati's rivals, especially Aprilia, who have been performing exceptionally well throughout the 2026 season. Riders like Jorge Martin, Marco Bezzecchi, and Ayagura now have a golden opportunity to extend their advantage in the championship standings. Le Mans itself turned into Ducati's darkest weekend of the season. The Borgo Panigale factory arrived in France with extremely high expectations after showing incredible speed throughout practice and qualifying. Many predicted Ducati would dominate the race weekend, but the reality on track was the complete opposite. Marc Márquez suffered a huge crash in the sprint race, while Francesco Bagnaia also crashed during the main race as he tried to chase down a very strong Marco Bezzecchi on the Aprilia. The double crash involving Ducati's 2 main riders sent the team home without a podium, without a victory, and with a massive loss of momentum in the battle for the World Championship. Many observers have started to believe that the 2026 Ducati Desmosedici still remains one of the fastest bikes on the straights, with acceleration and top speed that are extremely difficult for its rivals to match. However, behind that advantage, the bike is also being described as having an aggressive character that is becoming increasingly difficult to control when riders start pushing it to the absolute limit. Several MotoGP analysts believe the bike's changing characteristics are forcing riders to work much harder to maintain stability, especially when entering high-speed corners and during extreme braking phases. Some Ducati insiders have even revealed that once tyre grip starts to disappear, everything can happen within a split second without any chance to save the bike. This situation has led many people to believe that the 2026 Desmosedici is not only the fastest bike, but also one of the most brutal and risky machines on the grid this season. The situation became even more intense after Ducati course general manager Gigi Dall'Igna immediately requested an internal investigation following the crash suffered by Marc Márquez during the sprint race. Ducati reportedly considered Marc's performance drop during the race to be far too drastic compared to his pace in qualifying, where he had looked extremely competitive and showed strong potential to fight for victory. This situation has raised serious concerns within the team, especially because the Desmosedici appeared to lose stability during the most critical phases of the race. Some Ducati technicians have even started investigating the possibility of issues related to the electronic setup, tyre grip, and the bike's overall character, which is now considered increasingly difficult to control when pushed to the maximum limit. Marc actually looked very convincing from the beginning of the race weekend. He was able to fight at the front and showed competitive pace to battle for victory. However, once the sprint race began, his rhythm suddenly dropped dramatically. Starting from the leading group, Marc slowly lost contact with the frontrunners before eventually crashing in the closing laps. This is what led Ducati to suspect a possible technical issue with Marc Márquez's Desmosedici. The team immediately began analysing telemetry data in detail to determine whether the problem came from the tyres, the bike setup, or another technical issue that had not been detected before the race started. While Ducati is struggling with these difficult circumstances, Aprilia Racing has instead continued to show increasingly impressive progress and is beginning to emerge as a new powerhouse in MotoGP this season. The combination of Marco Bezzecchi and the RSGP 2026 is now considered by many observers to be one of the most complete and dangerous packages on the grid. Aprilia's performance has looked extremely consistent in various track conditions, particularly in terms of braking stability, smoother corner exits, and the bike's ability to preserve tyre performance all the way to the final laps of the race. The 2026 season, which was initially predicted to become an era of Ducati domination, has now turned into enormous pressure for Marc Márquez and the entire Ducati Lenovo team. Now the big questions are beginning to emerge. Can Marc Márquez still make a comeback after this major surgery? And can Ducati find a solution before the championship battle truly slips away? Share your opinion in the comments below.